be problematic because Eidolon the Great Revel, of course, on the play is significant. Burn on the play in general is pretty tough for most decks in the format, especially if you're creature-based and they have some Searing Blazes. And here we see Burn on the play.
Aspiring Vintage, Lava Spike. You really want to see creatures in this matchup, but Pulliam to 17.
You really want to see creatures in basically every matchup.
Right.
The creatures are really where the deck shines.
In this format.
Yeah. In this archetype. I mean, there are some, like, I think Popper Burn doesn't really like playing creatures because it just dodges all the removal and just throws 7 Lava Spikes at your face. But
speaking of creatures, Sakura Tribe Scout off a snow-covered forest for Pulliam. You want to answer that one. No answer. Casey's going to crack a Scalding Tarn to 19. Does have Eidolon of the Great Revel.
See, I think he does have answers, but he just wants to guarantee some damage with the Eidolon. And that may cost him. And it may be that he just he's limited on removal to kill it and wants to just throw those burn spells at the face in hopes that it's enough to get the job done. And a lot of times as a burn player, you have to figure out early in the game whether or not you can afford to throw a lightning bolt at a creature.
So here's Ancient Stirrings. There's that guaranteed damage you were talking about. Eidolon puts Pulliam to 15. Takes a look at the top 5 off the Stirrings.
Yeah, but if he's able to get Primeval Titan online here in a hurry, he could potentially start finding those Radiant Fountains or Kabira Crossroads, gain a bunch of life, and then start bouncing them.
Gemstone Mine is land number 2. Pulliam will use that to cast an Amulet. Goes to 13 off of the Eidolon. Hanging out with the Tribe Scout ability. That one can be used at instant speed.
If he has a Titan, we'll be able to deploy it next turn with a bounce land from hand and then a bounce land next turn.
If the Tribe Scout lives, he can even just play both bounce lands next turn.
I think he actually needs a Tribe Scout to live no matter what.
Sure.
Now, something like Azusa could change that math. Bryan Carey might recognize that killing this Sakura Tribe Scout potentially keeps Pulliam off of Primeval Titan next turn and may burn the bolt to do it.
Eidolon comes across, Pulliam to 11. Fiery Islet is land number 3 for Carey. And here's Skewer the Critics that's going to take down the Tribe Scout. Pulliam will respond by putting a land onto the battlefield. And this will do 2 to carry off of the Eidolon as well, so you should be going to 17. There you see the trigger go.
It's one of those things where it almost never comes up that the burn player kills themselves if they're playing against a deck like Amulet Titan. So a lot of times you just kind of forget your own ability on occasion because it's, in your brain it doesn't register because it's not that relevant. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where you have to keep track of it because it is dual-sided in nature. It's very important that you do keep up with it in some matchups.
Yes. Tribe Scout put in the Simic Growth Chamber, picked up the Forest, not the Gemstone Mine.
Has Talaria West, wants to transmute it here. That's the only reason you would bounce the Forest there instead of the Gemstone to reset it.
Yeah, that was the fine off of that Ancient Stirrings. So now he's going to use Talaria West, find Summoner's Pact. Building up to a Titan next turn.
Yeah, is going to have to take 2 from the Summoner's Pact to go get the Titan, though.
And I believe that Carey has Boros Charm at the ready for end step.
Yeah, so that's going to
might not be a next turn.
That's true. It's going to pull him down to 7. Attack puts him to 5. So it only needs 2 burn spells from hand for Carey to take this game down.
Boros Garrison will untap and pick up the Gemstone Mine. Pulliam passes.
It's a painful Boros Charm. I'm going to deal himself 3 damage to do it. But again, life total here, not that relevant.
Yeah, acceptable costs for sure. So 14 for Carey, 7 for Pulliam. And go back over to Carey. Has quite a lot of combinations that close from here. Looks like Lightning Bolt and Lightning Helix in the hand. That should wrap it up. Here's an attack for Eidolon. Pulliam to 5.
Yeah, Pulliam's deck doesn't really have spot removal. He's a 28-29 land deck. And not a lot of instant speed interactions.
Spells?
Yeah.
Burn takes one over Amulet Titan.
I mean, on the play there, Bryan Carey didn't have the turn 1 creature, but did have turn 2 Eidolon the Great Revel. It dealt Pulliam, 4 points of damage with just the ability alone. 2 attacks, 8 damage for 2 mana. It's quite the rate.
So players are looking at the sideboards here. We'll start with Bryan Carey. He has 4 Skullcracks, 4 Smash to Smithereens, 3 Core Firewalker, 2 Path to Exile, and 2 Grim Lavamancer.
So here I'm under the impression that Carey wants to make sure that Amulet of Vigor is kept in check. Smash to Smithereens probably going to come in. 2 copies of Path to Exile can dual nature slow down Pulliam in a number of ways by taking down the Primeval Titan when he's trying to do the combo stuff. Or, you know, in a weird spot can maybe use it on a Scourge Tribe Scout early. Yes, you do give him the 1 ramp, but the second ramp is usually the one that makes the Tribe Scout worthwhile. The first ramp, not always that good. The Grim Lavamancer's Core Firewalker is not really for this matchup. Skullcrack, I think the life gain is a little too incidental. Or just like repeatable. So I don't know that Skullcrack is going to be all that good here.
Yeah, pretty inefficient. Pulliam sideboard, we have 3 Dismembers, 2 Obstinate Baloth, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Force of Vigor, a Field of the Dead, a Cavern of Souls, a Tireless Tracker, and a Ramunap Excavator.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Pulliam actually brings in Force of Vigor, because if I'm not mistaken, Force of Vigor says up to 2. So you could just dual pitch to destroy an Eidolon the Great Revel early. You know, it's not like the best thing in the world, but it also doesn't deal you damage, which is pretty big. Obstinate Baloth, definitely a slam dunk. Bringing that one in for sure. You're going to play that one pretty reasonably early, usually turn 3 or so. Injure Explosives, I think, can come in. It's a good way to clean up those early creatures. Everything else I'd probably leave on the sideline.
All right, so here on the SCG Tour, we like to reward some of our content creators and people that work with us with the personality tokens in their likeness.
Aww.
Nice little package here. You see them there. You have the Ryan Overturf and the Todd Anderson. Your token's new. Pretty big fan of it. Nick Miller, Patrick Sullivan, and Matthias Hunt. You get a set of 5 of these when you enter and open. There you see the Nick Miller Thopter. See a few of those made off of Psy Master's Thopterus this weekend.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Just a couple.
Patrick Sullivan Dragon. Don't see a lot of that one.
Legendary Creature Dragon at that. I think that one's from specifically Sarkin, the something or another. The Teamer one makes a Legendary
the
Dragon,
Unbroken.
I think. Yeah. Maybe.
Here's some Math Bot, Matthias Hunt. We see a lot of this construct, too.
Yeah, Urza making that one. That was a nice hit for him.
Not so many treasures this weekend, the Ryan Overturf token.
Nah, but that was all the rage when it was in Standard, so
true.
You were lucky on that one. And then I have, of course, an Ooze. Because I really just wanted to be getting eaten by the blob.
This art is incredible. Really big fan of that concept.
The art concept was mine. All mine. Okay?
Of course you did not.
I did not draw a single thing. I did nothing of the sort. I don't actually work for a living. I just think for a living.
Pulliam is going to open game number 2 on a Once Upon a Time. Finds Primeval Titan.
Once Upon a Titan. That's my new name for this deck.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, but
I don't like it.
Right. Well, you don't like cool things.
I don't like any things. Ooh. Snow-covered Forest, Ancient Stirrings for Pulliam.
Classic nihilism strategy.
Simic Growth Chamber Find. Director Rob quickly corrected me. I do like Steak and Shake.
You do like Steak and Shake. You know, if you had eaten Steak and Shake for lunch, you could have brought me back a milkshake.
That's a fact.
But
I knew I was going to get Steak and Shake for dinner.
Okay. Well, there it is.
Mountain Goblin Guide for Carey.
That's called efficiency.
Attack reveals Simic Growth Chamber. Pulliam down to 18.
Yeah, Carey here getting in some early damage. Goblin Guide, definitely the card you want to see to start off these games. Namely because they don't have a lot in the way of interaction. And it's an easy way for one card to deal more damage than one of your natural burn spells. Especially on this mulligan from Carey.
And when your red cards have done 2 damage, they've done their job. A little bigger ask in Modern. You want to get 3 out of them.
Yeah, I would say that 3 damage per card is about what you want. Pulliam here actually on the play, but has a discard on turn 2 because of the draw from the Goblin Guide and the bounce land from Pulliam himself.
So he picked up that Snow-Covered Forest to a Growth Chamber and discarded the other Growth Chamber. We'll see what Carey can add to the battlefield. You see
Boom
Inspiring
Bust.
Advantage. Boom Bust would be hot.
That would be a nice one.
Not in the deck, but
man.
Crack the Earth.
Crack the Earth's
also
not legal.
Not in the deck. Crack the Earth is legal.
I thought that was from Onslaught.
It's from Betrayers of Kamigawa.
Maybe you're right. How come there's not more flagstones with that card running around? Also, that's a huge reveal there from Pulliam. Injure explosives off the top is going to allow him to clean up both these creatures. He's going to basically get to pass to Bryan's turn 3 at 12 life, but a clean battlefield.
So attack plus skewer put Pulliam to 12, but as you mentioned, Injure explosives, a draw step here. Both players know that off the Goblin Guide. Very tempting for Pulliam to just play Forest explosives on 1, but might have a better option.
Yeah, I mean, the deck does some really explosive stuff with Amulet of Vigor, Azusa Lost But Seeking, and a lot of those iterations are really complex and tough to figure out, especially things like Talaria West. You know, like, you have so many options at your disposal. A lot of times it's difficult to figure out what to do.
So here is explosives on 1.
All right, here's what I would love to see. It's not going to happen. I would love to see Bryan just attack with Monastery Swiftspear, and then I would love to see Pulliam take 1.
I'm in. into all of that.
I doubt either is going to happen, but I would love to see it.
I believe in Carey's ability to attack with just a Swiftspear.
If he drew another 1-mana creature, I think there's a very good chance he attacks with both just to entice Pulliam to blow it now, so he gets to spend the mana on his terms, play the 1-drop on his turn. He has a Sunbaked Canyon in hand, so he wants to be able to use all his mana at all times.
Well, there's an attack.
Bang!
Just the Swiftspear.
Take one. Oh.
Pulliam does not want to take 1, though.
I mean, that's fair. Protect your life total at all costs is certainly a reasonable goal.
He has seen some Skewer the Critics, too. I guess that if you're losing this game, it involves that being turned on a couple times, but you never know. Sunbaked Canyon goes where Carey will end the turn.
I feel like Skewer the Critics being turned on is basically the only way the burn wins, right? Like,
yeah.
Generally speaking.
I imagine that you're not dealing 12 damage without dealing any damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks. I follow.
Damage follows damage. Gotta spend damage to make damage.
You can choke the mana a little bit, but that's not a guarantee. All right, so here's another Growth Chamber. Pulliam will float a mana off a snow-covered forest, tap the other Growth Chamber, and here's Azusa.
He's going to let him play a couple lands here. And he's doing this, he's sequencing this in such a way that there's never an opportunity for Carey to actually kill the Azusa before he gets to play the 2 lands. Because if he just taps 3, plays Azusa, then plays Bounce Land, it puts a trigger on the stack. And Bryan Carey can respond to the trigger by using a Lightning Bolt or some such on the Azusa. So pull him there with a good sequence.
Gets that forest back in a Field of the Dead. Carey is just going to sacrifice the Sunbaked Canyon before going back to his turn. So Pulliam still at 12. Carey will shock to 18 for a Sacred Foundry.
This is the bane of my existence. Searing Blaze, 3 to face, 3 to creature. Pulliam's Azusa down. Skewer the Critic's going to be the follow-up. And all of a sudden, Pulliam is at 6. And Bryan Carey's got a Lightning Bolt in hand.
Technically halfway there. We'll see if Pulliam can gain some life, though.
I think he should be able to. He's going to get to mana 6 and Primeval Titan this turn. He has that Primeval Titan that he revealed on Once Upon a Time early on in the game. And this should find one of the lands that gain life, as well as potentially a bounce land to return it. And he hasn't played a land yet, so he could go all the way up to 10 this turn. And that might be a little too much for Carey to deal with.
It's definitely going to be a problem against a hand of just Lightning Bolt. There's Boros Garrison Radiant Fountain. Pulliam to 8. Picks up the fountain, plays it again, up to 10.
Now, and he's not closing the game very quickly by doing this, but without Amulet of Vigor, it's more important that you just get a raw number of resource points in one way or another. And against Burn, that resource that you want to buffer is going to be your life total. And Radiant Fountain and bouncing it and replaying it is exactly what you need to be doing.
Unfortunate draw step for Carey. Skullcrack.
I would actually say that it's probably his best draw. Now he actually has a chance to peel Boros Charm and kill Pulliam. So Primeval Titan's going to attack here. It's not going to be lethal. Carey has the Skullcrack to prevent the life gain from a bounce land into Radiant Fountain. And Pulliam even peeled an Obstinate Baloth.
Yeah, I suppose that is super fair. I was hung up on the fact that it would have been 7 points last turn.
Yeah.
But I guess it's 7 points this turn, too. You're exactly right. Might even be 9 points, with the Baloth. 11 points. All right, the Skullcrack's very good. Correction about Skullcrack.
Yeah, turns out under no circumstances do you have to hand it to him. Skullcrack here. We call that one Skill Crack. Can't gain life.
Pulliam can't possibly have green mana floating here. It has to be blue or colorless. So Obstinate Baloth baited that Skullcrack. We got to fix this mana situation here. So 2 Growth Chamber, Radiant Fountain. The mana floating can't possibly be green. It has to be colorless or blue.
Yeah.
So we'll get that fixed really quick.
Yeah, Judge intervened there. Good spot by them. So he's got at least a colorless or blue, but probably just the blue.
He's at 7 off of that Skullcrack.
It's going to go away anyway, so.
All right, here comes Primeval Titan.
So now if you're pulling, what do you go get? How do you get out of this mess? You're at 7. Carey, I mean, I guess you're at 7 versus 1 card in hand from Carey. And they always have Boros Charm, right? It's just always there. And so I'm going to stop talking because it's just on top.
Where else would it be?
Where else would it be? I mean, you put it in the deck.
Yeah.
Right?
You put it in the deck so you can draw it.
And if you're Burn and you're 7-0, you have to have hit it multiple times by now in these types of spots.
So Pulliam's going to find Slayer's Stronghold, Gruul Turf. Now the Field of the Dead is on, so a couple zombies will show up with that. Yeah,
a couple zombies going to return the Radiant Fountain, but it's not going to gain him any life this turn because that Skullcrack lasts until the end of turn. But he is threatening lethal next turn, putting Carey down to 8. A bolt to the face going to put Pulliam to 4. We got to sweat!
Skullcrack or Canyon
gotta
into
go like a turbo vet!
Or sorry, Boros Charm. Idle on a Great Revel, though. That is not it.
I don't think that one's very good at all.
No.
Blocks 4 damage.
Yeah, because of the Slayer's Stronghold,
10,
you block
12.
Baloth, you take 10, 12.
Yeah. Bryan Carey drew the perfect Skullcrack, right? Needed to also draw the perfect Boros Charm. While that's like a 1%er, I just expected it.
Right.
Because it's a burn.
It was 50-50.
It was. Either you drew it or you didn't.
Right, and you didn't.
You didn't. Unfortunate. You know, the other day I won like 4 coin flips in a row with Stitching Time.
You're telling me about that.
And like, that's not very likely.
No.
But if you just always think you're going to win.
You have to believe.
You got to believe to achieve.
Players go into game number 3. You see them there comfortable in their Carnox gaming chairs, much like Todd and myself.
Hell yeah.
Save 10% at checkout for purchase of your own Carnox chair at carnox.com/SCG. Carnox chairs, they've got your back. Big fan of these chairs.
Yeah, we got your back.
We did an open or 2 without the chairs after having had the chairs.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I gotta say,
I wanted my money back.
There's a statement, it is better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. However, it is worse to have sat in a nice chair and lost that nice chair
and then
than to have never sat in a
lumpy
nice
convention center chair. You know, my back is horrible.
Yeah.
And it's 99% due to convention center chairs.
That's probably true.
So get yourself a Carnox chair and do yourself a favor.
That's just math.
Carnox.com/SCG to get that 10% discount. You got to do the /SCG to get the discount.
Yeah, so I had just turned 30 this year, right? And everyone tells you, if you're young, 20s, if you're 18, I know that you don't believe them because I didn't either, but as soon as you turn 30, you actually fall apart. Pieces of your body just shake off just when you're going about your life. You wake up in pain for no discernible reason.
Well, I mean, the only reason human life expectancy is like above 50 is because of modern medicine and technology.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, 30 starting to fall apart makes perfect sense. You're going downhill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've literally peaked on that kind of timeline.
Yeah. You know, all the stuff that Jesus did, right?
Yeah.
He was 32 years old. He was basically an old man.
True. It was his time.
He was the wisest of all of them because he was the oldest by a lot. Everyone thinks that the 12 apostles were like old guys with beards. They're 14. They're just following this guy around in the desert who's, he's turning water into wine because let's party.
Okay. Again, they pay us to talk about magic.
They're mulliganing. You can't get mad at me when they're mulliganing.
I can get mad at you constantly for any reason.
That's true.
Especially the reason you just gave me.
That's my superpower. I'm always angry.
Carry on a mulligan to 6 here. Inspiring Vantage Goblin Guide. You see a Sakura Tribe Scout on the top for Pulliam.
I also see one dead Will Pulliam on the draw against turn 1 Goblin Guide from Burn. Let's see if he can claw his way out of this turn 1 Goblin Guide.
I see what you're doing.
Modern is horrific. It's fun. I've been playing only Modern for like a month and a half, and it's really fun. But there are just some... You just get to see the glaring design mistakes over the last 18 years.
I think this game is competitive.
This game is, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, generally speaking.
Sure. Yeah, we've seen some stuff today.
Yeah.
We've seen some stuff.
Things that no man should see. Horrors that no one should have to witness.
Horrors beyond imagine.
Look, I'm not saying that I prefer to have seen Cthulhu, but, I mean...
Yeah, it would be inappropriate to talk about that.
Why?
It was a joke. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, right, because
It's
we're
fine.
supposed to be talking about magic.
Sorry, that's the only topic that's appropriate.
Okay. Well, what about Shadows over Innistrad? You know?
That's a magic set.
Yeah, they had Cthulhu monsters.
It's fair. It's fair game. You're right.
Here it comes. Skewer the critics on. See, I brought it back. Skewer the critics on.
I'm proud of you.
All right.
I'm proud of you. Stewart Tribe Scout down. Goblin Guy connects again. Pulliam to 16. Rift Bolt on suspend.
There it is.
Todd, please go back to talk about
Shadows over Innistrad.
Whatever it is that we're talking about.
All right, so let's finish the conversation from earlier.
My apologies for interrupting.
No, it's fine. So Pulliam here, Amulet of Vigor is actually one of the ways that he can get himself back up to speed in this game. This Current Tribe Scout dying last turn, it did save him 3 life, but the Goblin Guide producing that constant source of damage is problematic for him. Now, with the Amulet of Vigor, though, he can potentially play catch-up. Now it comes to Bryan. Do you have the Smash to Smithereens? And if you do, the game is very likely over this turn.
All right, so Rift Bolt, Pulliam to 13. Goblin Guy still on the table. There's an untapped Simic Growth Chamber, but not expecting Pulliam to do much with that at instant speed. Shock for Sacred Foundry, carry 17. Here's Monastery Swift Spear. Attack for 3. Reveal Simic Growth Chamber. Pulliam will draw that.
All right. What's the last card? You left open the mana. It's a Boros Charm. Probably the best one for the spot outside of Smash Smithereens. That might not even be in the deck. That's going to be 8 points of damage coming across.
Pulliam to 2.
I think Life Tolls were a little bit on the sketchy side there for a second. But Pulliam going to end up at 5 from the 4 points of attack and the 4 points from the Boros Charm. Bryan Carey at 16 still. Pulliam needs to combo basically this turn, and I don't know if he can do it. Castle Garenbrig's a good start, though.
I mean, something like Engineered Explosives would be very beneficial for him.
Right. I mean, he's at 5, and Bryan Carey is empty-handed. But he does have the Sunbait Canyon to draw a card, and it's unlikely Pulliam dies next turn if he does have an Engineered Explosives. But that's a big ask on turn 3.
So he's starting with Castle Garenbrig, making an Asusa. 2 land drops to go.
And now he's got to figure out, can I survive a 3-point burn spell? Is there anything I can do to survive a 3-point burn spell? County Garden, Radiant Fountain, these are ways to potentially do that. Because he didn't have the answer to the creatures.
Vesuva copying Sunbaked Canyon. That's a first for me. That's a first for me. Pulliam needs some action, it looks like.
Yeah. Now he's going to play a land here, Slayer Stronghold, and he's going to crack his Vesuva Sunbait Canyon during the end step and cross his fingers that Bryan Carey doesn't find a 3 damage point burn spell here.
So here's a pass. We'll see what Carey can draw.
Fade the deck. Is it a land?
So is Pulliam just priced into blocking the Goblin Guide with the Asusa? I guess that 3-point burn spell still does it with the Swift Spear then.
I think actually Pulliam can't block. I think that was the concession by copying the Sunbait Canyon, because he's going to crack it. And if he cracks it, next turn he has 6 mana with a bounce land only. Well, here it is.
3 points. It's Skewer the Critics. Upstairs. Okay. Now there's no blocking out of it. Pulliam to 2. There's 2 power creatures.
Yeah, and he was unable to fade, and it had to be coming pre-combat because he needed to pump the Swift Spear. That's going to do it. Bryan Carey takes it 2-1 against Pulliam's Amulet Titan deck. That's a pretty nice showing for Burn in a matchup that I don't think is all that good, but being on the play, having really great starts while on the play. Goblin Guide, both times he was on, or no, I'm sorry. Game 1 it was Lava Spike.